Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So you are welcome to another edition of our online class. So today we'll be doing a validity of argument using a Venn diagram. So validity of argument using Venn diagram. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, then we want to quickly look at some set of relations that exist between logic and sets. So in a set, the sign for union. So that sign of union is what is similar to disjunction in logic. The intersection sign is similar to what? Conjunction. And the sign of subset is similar to implies. So for example, now let's say we have this. For example, consider this diagram now. Consider this diagram below. So when you consider the diagram below, so you have this. Are you getting it now? So, and we have this. So we still have this one. So the interpretation of this thing is that y is a subset of x, and also in a logical sense we see that y implies what? Implies x. So the meaning of this, so it means that y is a subset. Y is a subset of x, but in logic, so that is y is a subset of x, which means y is this. Are you getting it now? So that is the meaning of this diagram. Now, in logical sense, in logic, it means y implies x. That is, y implies x. I think you can see the sign. So it means y implies x. So that's the interpretation of that diagram. Now, seeing this, we'll be considering some examples. So let's do some examples from there. Let's do one or two examples. Example. So our example one says use Venn diagram. So use Venn diagram. So what? To determine the validity of the following. To determine the validity of this statement below. So what's the statement? On the argument below. Argument below. Now, the argument is this. All bus drivers are men. So, Adi is the bus driver. Bus driver. Therefore, conclusion. Therefore, Adi is a man. So therefore Adi is a man. So how do we solve this? It's very simple. When you look at the question, we see that we have two premises with one conclusion here. So solution. So we say let so this one was up all the people. Okay. So we assume this one as a universal set. So we assume this one to be what? All the people in general. Then you can say that bus driver, so say B, let B be bus driver. B be bus driver. Then after that, what next? Can we say M be what? Man. Then X be Adi. X be what? Adi. So Adi, is the main subject, the character of this statement that we are referring to. Now to do this now, the first statement says that all bus drivers are what? Are men. So when you consider that first statement from P1, that P1 is telling you that the bus driver is a subset of what? It's a subset of men. So from this now, the meaning of this is that bus driver is a subset. So when you see it, you say that P1 is that. Hope you can see. So from here, from the first statement P1 here, that all bus drivers are men. It means that this bus driver, they are what? Subset of a man. So which means that bus driver B is subset of men. So B is a subset of this. So that's the meaning of the first statement. That is, bus driver, they are what? Subsets of men. Then after that, the second statement says Adi is a what? It's a bus driver. So this is Adi now. This is Adi. They are also telling you that X, P2 means X is also what? Subset of B. Are you getting it now? Then this is the conclusion. Conclusion says Adi is a what? Is a man. So Adi is a man. That C, which is what? Conclusion. Conclusion C means that conclusion C means that Adi, this X is what? Is also a subset of a man. So it's a subset of man. So it's a subset of a man. So now when you now look at the three now, we have this, we have this, we have this. Are you getting it now? Even without drawing anything from this, once that you see, it's like you now see this first premises, this second premises, and this one is what is the conclusion. So definitely it means that if X is a subset of B and B is also a subset of a man, which is M, automatically X is also what? Is also a subset of this M. Even without drawing any diagram, once the value, one of the value here are the same, or the value here and the one here are the same, that is a sign that the statement is going to be valid, because it means that there is a link up between this and this, because we have B here, we also have B here. In some cases it might be here and here, but when one of these diagonal, if one of them are true, it means that the good statement is going to be valid. But let's draw the diagram for it. So we now come back here, we want to draw the diagram. So let's move on. Now drawing the diagram, it will now be, to draw the diagram we now have, the diagram will be like this. So we have this one to be what? To be the subset, the universal set. Now the first one is that bus driver man. The first one is B, bus driver is a subset of a man, which means the first thing to be drawn here will be what? Will be M, which is the man. So we have here we have M. You draw your circle like this, so which is M. That is telling you that that M stands for what? Stands for men. So that M stands for men, or using man. So that M stands for man. Then they told you that B is a subset of this from the second statement. Are you getting it now? The meaning of all bus drivers are men from that second statement, which is this, is that this B is a subset of men, which means the letter B must be inside what? Inside M. So which means we have this, so we have our letter B here. Then after that, they said Ade is a what? Is a bus driver, which means Ade must what? Must also be inside what? Inside B, because they say Ade is a what? Is a bus driver. So and the Ade is S. Therefore, the conclusion is that Ade is what? Is also a man. So we have, so you can now see your Ade is here. You can see your Ade is here. That is, Ade is in the same circle with what? With bus driver, because Ade is the bus driver. Are you getting it now? Because that Ade is the bus driver, is a bus driver. So which means that we now check at that now. The meaning of this diagram now is that this Ade is the bus driver here, which is a subset of what? Subset of the men. So when we are looking at it, you should know that this one is what? Is valid. It's valid. You see, it's valid. Are you getting it now? Then the second example, that is example number 2. Second example, example 2. Second example, we are coming. So the second example is that Second example, you use that same thing. Set all professors are meticulous. All professors are meticulous. All professors are meticulous. That is P1. Then we have Salami is meticulous. Therefore, Salami is what? It's a professor. So, what's the meaning of that? This is P1, right? This is P1. This is P2. And this is what? Conclusion. This is conclusion. From here now, we say that let solution. So let P be what? Let P be what? The professor. And M be meticulous. Then S be what? Be salami. From the first statement here, from that P1, when you check it very well, P1 here means so from P1, from the premises, from the premises comma P1 means from that premises. The meaning of this P1 means that that professor, which is meticulous, P is a subset of what? That M. That's the meaning of P1. And P2 means what? P2 means salami. So what? It's meticulous. That is salami also. It's a subset of what? M. And the conclusion, C. Conclusion means that salami is what? It's a professor. That is S. So that's the meaning of that statement. So when you look at it now, you will see that there is no sequel arrangement between these two now, because before salami can jump to this place, salami must have passed through this place first. Before we can claim that salami is a meticulous, it means salami must have been a professor before. But this statement, let's assume this one is what they put here, you will see that if it is like this now, let's say we have this, you get now, and we have this, I get it. You see that this one, you see that there is a link up between the two, but they don't do it like that. So instead of that, they claim this one to be conclusion. So now look at this one and this one now. So this one and this one, there is no link up between the two. Are you getting it now? So this one has a final adjustment here and also has a final adjustment here. So from the mere looking at this thing, you will know that the argument will not be valid, because S must pass through the P stage before it goes to what? It goes to M stage. So when you draw this thing out, Let's say now I want to draw the diagram here. So the diagram is this. So this is my subset. You see it now. So that's the diagram. Are you getting it now? So let me slow down the camera so that you can see it. Now, when you now look at the thing, the first one there is meticulous, which is our M. We draw it. We draw it. Then this one states that P is a subset of that M. So which means inside this M we must have our P here, right? This is our P. Then what next thing? S is a what? Is a subset of M. That's what I'm saying. S is a subset of M. You know, it now means that X, this X, which is salami, is a subset of M. But look at where I put my X. There is no way to do it because the meaning of this P2, if I should follow that statement, it means that my X should be so if I should follow the statement 2, it means that my X should be here. That's the meaning of it. Because it says that S is a subset of M. Are you getting it now? M, that is salami, was what? Salami is meticulous. That is, this salami is a subset of this. And the conclusion, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is this, that X is a subset of professor. That is, salami is a professor. But now look at it now. You see that this argument does not support the conclusion. Are you getting it now? This argument does not warrant its conclusion that is stated because the final thing here does not indicate that salami is a professor. Before we can claim that salami is a professor, it means that the X must be here. Are you getting it now? So it means that the X must be here. If you now put in this place and you put X here, this is telling you that salami is a professor and it's also what? Meticulous. But you know why this one is not valid? Is because the statement here is telling you that salami is a professor first. That salami has been a professor before he becomes a meticulous. But the statement here states that salami is a meticulous before it becomes a professor. Are you getting it now? So which means that this argument is what? Is invalid. This argument is invalid because salami here was a professor before he became meticulous. But the argument is that salami was a meticulous before he became what? Professor. So which means if let's say the conclusion here, let's say this one is here and this one is here, it must have been a valid argument if this one is here and this one is here. But since they don't do like that, it means that this argument is invalid. So which means that we cannot say that we put S here and we still put S here. Are you getting now? So this is the meaning of this P2. In a normal sense, this is P2 and this is what? This is P1. And we say this one to be what? Conclusion. But the argument is what? Is invalid because this thing cannot appear twice. So that one is invalid. The code is that once you are jotting this thing down, if there is no link up between this diagonal or this one, just forget it. It cannot be valid. So that's the code. That's the code there. Then let's quickly go to the third example. Let's quickly go to the third example because today will be the last class on this logic. Except that we want to go for correction of the assignment that I will give you. And mind you, I think I told you that one earlier, that saying that an argument is invalid does not mean that we are saying it is not true, that it is false. So in logic, you don't say something is false. You say it is valid or invalid. Are you getting it? And so that's the under validity of argument, so we don't say that something is false. We say it is valid or invalid. So saying that it is invalid does not means that we reject those things or we claim that it is negative. No. Then example 3. The example 3 here is that no politician is poor. Example 3. Example 3. No politician is poor. No politician is poor. Is poor. No politician is poor. Rufus is a liberal. Rufus is a liberal. All liberals are poor. All liberals are poor. So the question on that is that if the argument above is valid, draw the conclusion. Draw the conclusion. Draw the conclusion. Now, look at it now. Solution. So let P be politician, right? So let P be politician, Q be poor people, then R be what? Be Rufus. R be Rufus. What else? Liberal. We have R or N to be what? Be liberal. N to be what? Be liberal. Let me put it here. N be what? Be liberal. Now, when you now check at the statement, from the statement, P1 says no politician is poor. You see that one, even there is no relation between this and this, that one is separate on its own. So this one is Rufus is a liberal. So P1 on a separate case. This one, the meaning of that P1 is that politician is not the subset of what? It's not the subset of poor people. Are you getting it now? Because they say no politician is poor. So P1 means politician. So that is PO. Then put O there. So PO, politician, is not what? It's not the subset of poor people. It's not the subset of poor people. That's the meaning of first statement. So P2, premises 2 means, because some of you will think it is part of it. Or should I use another data? Let's continue. So P2 means Rufus is what? Is a liberal. So that is Rufus is a subset of what? The subset of liberal. The subset of liberal. And are you getting now? Then the last statement. All liberals are what? Are poor. That is, liberal is also what? Liberal is the subset of poor people. Pardon? The subset of poor people. Okay, poor people is Q. It's the subset of Q. So, definitely the question has told us that the thing is valid. And when you look at what we draw down, we see that there is a sign that it is valid because there is a link up between this and this. I mean, this one is enough to show you that the argument will be valid. But you are not told to find the validity. You are trying to find what? The conclusion. So, you now draw your diagram. You draw it. or let me use this side. So using that side, which means that you now see that here to draw your this thing you have this. So you have universal here. Now look at it. P is not the subset of poor people. That is, politicians are not poor. So that one stands on its own. So you draw your P here as politician. P, you have it like this. That is politician. So that's politician. Then the next one is Rufus is a what? Is a laborer. Then all laborers are pure. They want you to draw out the conclusion. You will see that this thing you will start from poor people at the top, because laborer is a subset of poor people. So which means you have to draw poor people first. So you know our Q is what? Poor people. So we have a Q here. So it will be poor people. Then I will say that laborer is what? Is the subset of that poor people. So which means that inside that poor people we have a laborer. Are you getting it now? We have laborer N. Then they said Rufus is a what? Is a laborer. So which means that inside that laborer, we have a Rufus. We have a Rufus. So Rufus is a laborer. You have Rufus inside the laborer. Are you getting it now? So they now ask for conclusion, that we should draw conclusion from that. We have two conclusions here. The first conclusion is that Rufus has nothing to do with politician. That is, Rufus is not a politician. Then the second one is that since all laborers are known to be poor, it means Rufus is also what? Is also poor. So the conclusion is that labor Rufus is not a laborer, is not a politician. It's not a politician, therefore Rufus is poor. Rufus is poor. So that is that. Then that is example number 3. Can we move on to the last example, which is example 4? So this example 4 is very, very important. That's why I want to do it for you. So example 4. Example 4. Test the validity of the following of this. 1. If you study hard, very hard, then you will get a good job. You will get a good job. Get a good job. Then P2. If you get a good job, if you get a good grade, then you will get a good job. Good job also. The first one is if you study very hard, you will get a good grade. Grade, yes. Second one is if you get a good grade, you will get a good job. Conclusion. Conclusion. Therefore, if you study very hard, you will get a good job. You will get a good job. You will get a good job. You get a good job. Now, look at the questions. We have three things there. We have study very hard, get a good job, get a good grade, and get a good job. You see, study very hard. You see, getting a good grade, and get a good what? A good job. So let P be that. Let P be study very hard. Study very hard. Then Q be what? Get a good grade. And R be get a good job. Get a good job. So from the thing now, we now see that now from the premises, from the statement here, the first statement, so from the premises, are you getting it now? So P1, the meaning of P1 is this, means if you study very hard, then you will get a good grade. That is, P implies what? Implies Q. Is that not the meaning of it? P, if you study very hard, you get a good what? A good grade. Then P2 means, the P2 is that if you get a good grade, then you will get a good job. So, which means that this also this. Then lastly, conclusion means, conclusion is that if you get a good grade, then you will get a good job. So, which means that, what's the thing for good grade? Okay, conclusion is therefore, if you study very hard, you will get a good job. Study very hard is what? Is P. P. So, getting a good job, R. So, we now want to test whether this one is valid or invalid. And I've always said that, you see, there is a link up between this and this. So definitely the thing is going to be what? It's going to be valid. But let's draw it. So when you now draw your this thing, you can still have this one here if you like, and if you like you can leave it. Nobody will query you for that. So it's just a sign of a universal set. That's the meaning of it. That's the meaning of the sign. So from here now, the meaning of this is equivalent to saying this one is subset of this. That's the meaning of it. It's equivalent to saying this. Are you getting it? So that is exactly what it means. So which means here you draw your what? You draw your P. Now, you know the conclusion is R, that P is also what? Is a subset of R. When you look at this thing now, taking it from a simple to complex, we see that the thing is like the R is the one that accommodates everything, because R accommodates P, it also accommodates Q. Are you getting that? Then Q accommodates what? Accommodates P. So which means it should be RQP instead of what? Instead of PQR. Are you getting that? So R is the major landlord here now. Are you getting it now? So which means that we have R at the top. So we have this, we have we have, so let's say we have R. Then what next? From this statement here, Q is a subset of what? It's a subset of R. So we have so we can have Q. Then P is also a subset of Q. So let's now look at it now. You now put P here. You know the reason why I draw everything to be 3? Because unlike the first one I did, this one is a sign of implies. Are you getting now? All the previous examples, they are giving us direct statements. For this one, it's not direct statement, it's a conditional statement. That's why I draw the thing. That's why I don't do like this. That's why I don't do like this. That let me do like I've been doing before. Because this, all those ones, they are direct statements, but this one is a conditional. That if this also happen, then this one will also happen. So it's not direct. So we draw it like this. So now want to test, is this valid or not? Why not? So checking it, you will see that the conclusion here is valid, that P is what? Is a subset of R, and at the same time P is a subset of what? Q. You see that P has satisfied the two at the same time, as a subset of Q and also a subset of R, and also Q is also a what? Subset of R. So which means the argument is what? Is a valid. Are you getting that? So because of that, let me quickly give you assignment because of our time that you will do. You'll be doing that one later. Submit it. Then so assignment. Oh. Number 1. If you like sports, then you will like football. Then you will like football. You will like football. You don't like sports. You don't like sports. So conclusion, therefore you don't like football. You don't like football. Draw out your point from here. Before you even draw the diagram, you will know whether it is valid or not valid. Are you getting it? So, hope you can see it clearly. I want you to see everything. You have complained. So, second one. Some doctors are good. Some doctors are good looking. Some doctors are good looking. All females are good looking. conclusion, some doctors, therefore, some doctors are females. Then, all warm-blooded animals are mammals. Number three. Hope you have seen it. Then number three. We have number three. Number three. Number three. All warm-blooded animals are mammals. Hope you can see this. Human being are mammals. So what is the conclusion? Therefore, human beings are warm-blooded. Therefore, human beings are mammals. So that's all. So you do that one. So until next we meet. So that's the end of the today class. Assalamu alaikum.